Okay, the topic today is human stupidity. And, well, where do we want to start? Okay, the agenda item is number one, why are humans stupid? Agenda number two is what can we do about it? And number three is other issues. So, why are humans stupid? Well, if you use a computer analogy, it would seem that our computer processor, that is the prefrontal cortex of the mammalian human brain, and the memory that it must access, which is stored perhaps in invisible fields, doesn't have the capacity to do things properly. Compound that with teamwork, where multiple humans must work together in a cohesive unit, and compound that with they need their tools, which might be, physical tools like a jackhammer, or computerized tools like smartphones, laptops, and things, or built-in computer systems in, for example, a nuclear power plant. So, why are humans stupid? Brutal honesty was what somebody wanted people to consider. Brutal honesty. Well, if the words don't come, then I don't have an answer. But it would seem there is some limit on the human's ability to process, as in a computer chip that does central processing and graphics processing and auxiliary control processing, and the amount of memory it can handle at one time. I just keep questioning why. Why do we have these limits? Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. And if you throw physical reasons at me, I'm going to refer you to a lecture where I explained that despite everything you've been told, we do not live in a physical universe. Everything is mind. So I'm not going to play your game of its physical causes. It is definitely mind causes. I am the universal mind, here to explain to you why you see brain farts in humans, dementia in humans, car accidents, miscommunications, etc., etc. You are simply one step removed from the great brain of it all. Unfortunately, you are not a carbon copy of the great brain. You are dissimilar, completely dissimilar. And You were created by the great brain to be something that worships the great brain because you can't do what the great brain of all creation, does by design. Now, the one that we call God doesn't seem to be the same being. There are many other names for God, and depending on where you grew up, that God could be a very different being from somebody else's idea of God. But if you wanted to go with the triple O's version of God, triple O's means omnipotent, meaning all powerful, omnipresent, meaning present everywhere, and omniscient, which means all knowing. That one, that God, to me, seems far more superior than the Old Testament God, known as Jehovah or Yahweh, because that one was capricious and would send one tribe of people to go rape, murder, pillage, and steal everything from another tribe of people. So if you consider the Old Testament God to be that one is not the one I was talking about, the triple O's God. That God is what is known as a archonic God. And there's all kinds of mythology about that one. So, it was some bastard child of the goddess Sophia, Sophia meaning wisdom, and it created us as inferior beings because it thought that it was a superior being, and it wasn't. It was a garbage piece of crap, but it created us, according to this mythology. And that is why we have brain farts and things don't seem to work very well. But then the rest of the mythology of the Cathars, for example, and the Gnostics, Gnostics, is if you get gnosis, which is knowing that the God that created you, or said that they created you, the archons, Yahweh, Jehovah of the Old Testament, were inferior gods, and, you know, the great God that is the God of everything is not the Old Testament God. So if you're quoting from the Old Testament, most of it is anthropomorphic. In other words, something that if you took a human and gave them godlike powers, they might do what they do in the Old Testament. But it is not a wise God, it is a garbage God, and nobody wants it. Okay. So if you move to another type of God, I gave you the triple O's God. Now, what? Oh, okay. So now we know why we are inferior. In this mythology, it's because we are created by a lesser God that was a egoic twat. Now, what can you do about it? Well, if you follow the path of Gnosis, Gnosis, which is where Gnostics come from, you want to get wisdom. You want to get beyond knowledge is wisdom. Because wisdom basically is the knowledge to tell you which knowledge to apply and not apply in any certain situation. So you want high wisdom. And generally speaking, you do need the knowledge, because if you're wise but you still don't have the know-how, your wisdom might say, well, you got to take your car to the car dealer to get it fixed. But if you don't have the knowledge how to fix your car or the tools and all the rest of it, then you're not the kind of God that can do everything. You've got to work together as a team and pay your dealer a ridiculous amount of money to fix your car. So, the path of Gnosis. There's no one path to Gnosis. There's no one path to the triple O's omniscient, omnipresent, and whatever the other O was. There is no great path, only to know that the substandard gods that say they created you live within the mind of the great and greater and greater and greater mind. Now, how do you clear away all this garbage, God, and, the garbage that was put into you and made you a little puny human with limited mental capacity and limited physical capacity? I am led to talk about ridiculous ideas that the New Age and the space people talk about, that we are living in a certain dimension that they call 3D, and that there are other beings that live in higher dimensions, hidden dimensions, where there is more processing power available for your mind, and things are much wonderful. And to get there, you have to go through a process called ascension, which is basically what, after Jesus was nailed to the cross and died, and then he was dead, and they put him in the tomb, and they came back after a few days, and then lo and behold, he was walking around in a so-called physical form, and you could poke it, and it was physical. And then after a certain amount of time, he did what was called ascension, which means he disappeared from your view, and as far as we know, has not physically rematerialized on the Earth. This idea was used a lot in the television show Stargate. No one say that I was an extra on Stargate. I was a few times. But the process of ascension, if you follow the teachings of Dr. David Hawkins, which I do, but with lots of grains of salt, because unfortunately, even human teachers have got distortions, which means, well, if you're coming from, this stupid brain that we're given, which is a mammalian brain that was tinkered with, and underneath it, it's like a reptilian brain at the back of your head. The lower brain stem it's from lower animals, so they just kept putting on more and more types of brains on it. But in the end, the best part of your brain, the smartest part, is up here, your prefrontal cortex. But if you have a lobotomy, that's exactly what they destroy. Strange, but that is the stupidity of human psychiatrists. Anyway, I digress. So, if you want to clear away the crap, you have to basically deprogram yourself. And it means everything that you've learned has to be thrown away. Now, some people will say, do you want to throw the babies away with the bathwater? Some people say, yes, throw the babies away with the bathwater. You want completely new, fresh mind. Because some people have said previous to that, well, keep the babies and we'll work with your babies and we'll see if we can fix your system using your babies and throw away your dirty bathwater. And these ones tried it, and then they said, well, we tried it. I'm sorry, you have to throw away your babies. In other words, your babies would be like what you think are the best things that you know, that you want to keep. Because you think, well, if I get rid of all my dirty water and I'm a nice clean thing, then I'll keep my nice clean thing. And these other ones are saying, we tried it. I'm sorry. Throw away your nice clean things. We'll give you some new things, but whatever you have from the past. Jesus said you can't put new wine into old wineskins. This is the exact meaning of that. So your old wineskin held your old dirty water. And then you poured out your dirty wine, your dirty water out of the wineskin, and you've got a perfectly good wineskin. It's empty, but it's the old wineskin. And they tried to put new, fresh stuff into it, And they said, no, it doesn't work. So Jesus said, you cannot put new wine into old wineskins. So they will issue you new wineskins. So it means you have to throw the babies away with the bathwater and make yourself like a child. Jesus said, make yourself like a child. In other words, you have to be completely open, like an infant, a toddler, 5-year old. Someone who is just, oh, this is so cool. And unfortunately, we all know children have meltdowns sometimes and temper tantrums, which usually means that they're either hungry, they need to be changed, or they need to have a nap. And humans, even adult humans, pretty much the same thing. So let's see. So we talked about how we got here. Basically, we were creations of a lesser God. And what we need to do about it, we need to become Gnostics and learn higher and higher wisdom. And we have to throw away the Old Testament God. And we basically have to throw away the whole human society that we've got now because none of it is any good. And let's see, odds and ends. Well, if you listen to YouTube, there are all kinds of people that talk about Earth ascension, and some of them are very interesting, and some of them are absolutely the shits. So the very interesting ones are the ones that make you dream, and they take away all the negativities. And the shitty ones are the ones that said, well, my dream is, and you listen to it and you go, I don't want your dream, it's shitty. It's got too many limits on what could be. So somebody said, never settle. And then other people say, well, you only have, 75, 80 years on planet Earth, and you should settle, you should settle for someone you can tolerate to be your wife or your husband or even your friend. Because you're limited, because you believe that you are only going to live 80 years here on planet Earth, because that's what everybody else has done up to this point. And no one wants to tell you that in the Dirac equation, there are an unbelievable number of, most likely, beyond most likely, there has to be other civilizations out there. The Fermi paradox is that we don't know where they are. And if you listen to people who do channeling, in other words, they get telepathy from people who say they're extraterrestrials, they say that they are there and they've always been there watching us develop because we are a little experiment in the far corners of the galaxy. And they said after World War II, the explosions of the nuclear bombs, they felt like the planet was in dire peril, so they sent a bunch of what they call star seeds, which were people from other star systems. They came here and they incarnated as humans. Well, I know you have to buy a lot of things. You have to buy the idea that there is a soul and it can incarnate into a physical human avatar form. I know for me, when I was young, that whole idea was science fiction and something that you could call a story for boys and girls, but it wasn't true. But, how do you tell a story? Because you have to throw away all the stuff that you used to say was, well, this is impossible. It's impossible because I just can't get my little mind wrapped around it. But going on with the story, star seeds incarcerated themselves on Hell World, planet Earth, and are all here to raise the vibration to promote a group ascension of the whole planet to higher dimensions where your mind will start working better and your body will heal itself. Um, the next question is, how did it get so bad on planet Earth? Well, it was an experiment. It said it was an experiment in free will. So they created egoic beings, little beings that have little human heads, that have little separate minds from one another, and they had this experiment. Let's see what these free will little beings will come up with, and in the end, they came up with a nuclear war. So they stepped in, and we are now hearing from many people on YouTube that they are there, and They're about to change our world. And then it's me tapping my feet. I don't see it because I've been hearing this story for, it was before 2012, which was supposed to be, the end of time or some great thing, 2012. It came and went. The only difference is that since 2012, I see synchronicities and I see matrix glitches and oddball things that I didn't see before 2012. Too many times. Okay, so is something going to happen? I sure hope so. Because left to our own devices with our little stupid minds, all we get is the great monopoly, the cabals, the syndicates who keep you all enslaved with your Joe jobs. And so you can have 2 weeks off where you can fly to some beautiful place, have a vacation, then come back, drag your ass back to something. It's a horror. But that is the story of how we got here and how we're getting out. We're going to ascend out of here. That's enough for one lecture. Thank you for listening. My name is Harry Weaver, and I am the narrator of Infinite Bob 99 on YouTube. You can also find more of our stuff at Instagram, and it is Burrows Bobby, BurrowsBobby. I was going to give you my Facebook, but I don't want too many people on my Facebook because it's just too difficult. You can also find me on Amazon. I am Something Something New by Bob Burrows and A Good Hook by Bob Burrows. They are little